in the Galilee, and today would be, I think, the 3rd of May, because it is the 3rd of May, and it's, I don't know what time is it. It's about 7:55 in the morning here in Israel. And our weather in Israel, okay, what we're going to do today before I get going, last night, Iran missile and drone attacked the American bases in Kuwait and Bahrain, two of those countries in the Persian Gulf. And if that's not a declaration of the war, please tell me what is. And then America counterattacked the bases that were used to launch missiles and drones. So please clue me in. How could this be a ceasefire? How could Trump say, well, we're still negotiating a ceasefire? Do you think something's wrong with this picture? What do you think? Okay, obviously something's wrong with this picture, right? It looks like the war's returned. And I'll discuss why Iran is doing this now. And it's not going to be it's going to be unsettling to a lot of people. I've lived in Israel many years and I understand the Middle East. And I'll explain it to you, okay? And we're going to get into the translations again. I've been using a different AI and getting slightly different results because I'm able to dictate my restrictions, how I want the translations done. And we're going back to the original Septuagint fragments that have been compiled into two codexes, which is Codex Vaticanus, which has nothing to do with the Catholic Church. They stole the word, it's nothing to do with them. And Codex Sinaiticus, which does have the New Testament in it. Okay? So, but my experiences with the translation from the old Greek manuscripts, these are old fragments of manuscripts, like little pieces and stuff like that they've compiled in these codexes painstakingly and transcribed them to make the whole books. And I tell you that it's not drastically. I'm going to do some New Testament translations today. Is it different? Yeah. Is it clearer? Yeah. Is it radically different? Not really. No. Compared to King James, I'm talking. No, it's not radically different. The English is better, easier to understand. But no, it's clearer. There's a difference, but it's not super fragilistic difference, and I'll show you what I mean. Is it better? Yeah. Now, I haven't. Now that I spoke too soon. I'm going to do some scriptures today online, and I imagine we're going to see it's a lot better and a lot clearer. I should have said the ones that I did yesterday were very slight and a very small amount. I did like Revelation 17, but we're going to go through it today, and I'll bet you that we're going to find big errors in the King James, and this is going to be much, much clearer. Should have put it that way. Okay. But we do have to spend time today on the war with Iran because it's likely going to affect other countries, not in the Middle East now. And I'll explain why I said that when we get going. Okay. So I was going to work on the weather. All right. I feel like Popeye the Weatherman. 91 degrees, so it's going to be borderline air conditioning weather. And 67 low, so that's decent sleeping weather. So what's going to happen is it's going to be it'll either be we can use the fan and stay cool, or we'll have to run the AC. Probably won't have to run the AC during the night because the house will be cooled off. Run it through the evening, like till 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and then just kill it. So, sooner or later we're going to hit air conditioning weather, and that means we got to spend money on electricity, which is not a lot of fun for us. But what are you going to do? June is usually the month you start with the AC. The worst month in Israel is August. Okay, so I'm going to go into the live stream real fast, make sure everything looks good, and put a post up, and then we'll get going. And the post is going to be pretty quick. You should take this Iranian attack rather seriously. They were not attacking Kuwait and Bahrain per se. They were attacking the American bases in Kuwait and Bahrain. That's an attack on American soil in the eyes of the Americans. You should understand this. And okay, everything looks pretty good here. Got moderator, thank you moderators. Okay, I'm gonna put the post up, which is gonna take seconds, not minutes. It's the offerings post. This is viewer supported, you know. Okay, okay. Everything looks good. We're gonna probably start picking up more views because people come in for the war. They want to hear, you know, the war intel from Israel and that kind of thing. But they don't care about the Lord, you know. Okay, so let's start with some praise, being a Bible believing site, Old and New Testament, and I have no control over who joins in or who doesn't. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay. Let's get into it. We're going to cover a lot of Israel news too. That's rather important. Okay. There's a lot of dissension in Israel right now with different groups. Okay. So before we get into this, we do have some prayer requests that are important. So we will cover those. The first one, I only have two. I can pray and you can agree with me that it'll be stronger, I think, to a more agree on earth. It will be done by my Father in heaven. First one is EG, Echo Girl, EG. Healing, person has cancer. So, my Heavenly Father Jehovah, I pray for EG, Echo Girl, for healing from cancer and other things as well. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And you believers can agree with it, and even if it's a video, don't be concerned. God's big enough to work through a video. Okay, the next one is for MR. Healing from a fall on steps for a leg. That could be ugly. And this has been ongoing, okay? So let's pray. I can pray and y'all agree, okay? That are the ones that are true believers agree. All right. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, B'Shem, Yeshua, HaMashiach, I pray for M.R., Mike Romeo, M.R., Mike Romeo. I pray for healing of the leg hurt in a fall. Okay, B'Shem, Yeshua, HaMashiach, and you guys can agree with that. As believers. Okay, so we're got that covered. Now let's get into things. There's a lot of things brewing right now that I'm going to show you that are pretty going to bring about prophetic things real quick in Jeremiah 49, especially starting in verse 34 to the end, the destruction of Elam, which is Iran and can be, we don't know. It could also include parts of Iraq and a little bit of like maybe the top of Syria or northeast Syria or something. We don't know exactly. But why am I saying that? Because Elam is what we call now southwestern Iran. So Iran is Elam. At times, due to military conquest over the centuries, Elam incorporated parts of Iraq or Iraq and Syria. Now, that doesn't mean that it's 100% mandated they're also going to be destroyed. Yeah, as part of Elam, I'm saying. They're going to probably get it, but not as part of Elam. But anyway, anyway, let's just keep it as part of Elam, okay? So, we're noticing that there was a new election in Iraq, and this guy isn't joining in the war with Iran like Lebanon is, or the Houthis or anything. He's staying out of it so far. Okay, so this is the hooker here. Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, and Oman are not countries in the Bible. They're on the other side of the Persian Gulf from Elam proper, without counting the expansion of Elam into Iraq and pieces of Syria. So they may go. Okay? They would have to be in Iraq because I don't know what else they would be in. So they would go. And it looks like they're going because they're getting attacked a lot by Iran. So this is a case of brother fighting brother. See now, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, and Oman are all dictatorships. Oh, they call themselves kings, emirs, sultans, presidents, or whatever, but they're dictatorships, okay? They pass the rulership down to their children, and these are, I'm not totally sure about Qatar. I think it's a king thing, yeah. So anyway, the Iranians are Shiite, and they don't like the idea of the king. They think that the money should be distributed amongst the people fairly. Well, they don't do that fairly either, so it's kind of a farce. But these countries may go, which will cause a heck of a good oil crisis. And that might be why in Zechariah 12 the enemy is coming on horseback. Think about it. Okay, the Houthis, this is, you got to pay attention. Serious stuff cooking here. The Houthis and Al-Shabaab are conspiring now to close the Red Sea. The Red Sea is the Red Sea, you know. Suez Canal is up by the Mediterranean, at the top of it. And it goes underneath, well, it's called a different waterway, but they also try to control underneath Yemen too. This is about 7% of the oil going through there. Now, that's what they tell us, 7%. Let's just go with what they tell us, okay? If they're understating it, it would probably be 10% or something. Let's go with 7%. The Persian Gulf is 20 to 25%. Here I would go with the 25%. Add the 7%, 32%. Let's round it off. 1/3 of the oil ain't moving. Dum, 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 dum. It's gonna be bad. Okay. So the the Houthis are based in Yemen. Okay, which I think is Edom, but maybe other people don't. Okay, I think it's Edom, but okay. Uh, and Somalia is where Al Shabaab is, and they're like a, I think it's Al Qaeda they're close to. Shabaab is like tied to Al Qaeda somehow, I believe. Okay. Um, they're getting ready to join forces. So Somalia would probably be launching from over there into the Red Sea, going out on boats with whatever kind of weapons they can muster, shoulder-fired weapons, AK-47s, and taking ships over and stuff. That's the home of most of the pirates in that area. Okay. Now, there's a side issue that got Somalia mad. Israel, there's a breakaway piece of Somalia. These are Muslims that want to break away from Somalia, and they did, and they call themselves Somaliland. And it is thought that this is the place Israel is going to put the Gazans if they can pull this off. Okay, so Israel is the first nation to recognize Somaliland. Maybe one other country did, I think, in the past few weeks, but Netanyahu wants to see America do it. This will probably make America do it. And we're setting up trade with Somaliland, which I'm looking forward to, the trade, because they got a lot of fish and food there, and they're reasonably close to us. So the transportation cost is going to be low. The transit time will be fast, and it'll be cheap. So it's just an interesting thing. It could go well, okay? Now, if things deepen, Netanyahu would do I've never seen him do it. Would he do a mutual defense treaty with a Muslim state? Yeah, he probably would, but I don't know why. I don't know. I don't think he would. Anyway, it's not on the table. So this means what? It means when the war lights up, which it already did last night, they're going to use both these entities to shut the Red Sea, which is going to be more efficient for them than it was with just the Houthis. Okay? See, what the Muslim radical Iran and its satellites want to do is break the back of the infidels, particularly Europe and America, North America and Europe, economically, using the oil to do it. Okay? So you run the oil prices up, but you got to get them up to $200-300. The more you get the oil prices up, the more you break the back, the quicker you break the back. Now, some experts talking $500. I'm not so sure, but you don't know. All right. Now in Israel, we're having more trouble with the ultra-Orthodox. I'm not kidding you. These people know no limits. They are storming police stations, throwing rocks and debris at the police station. They are going bonkers. The people, what I predict is going to happen is the people in Israel are going to have a very rapidly accelerating hatred for them. Rapidly accelerating. Okay? Netanyahu is a curse on Israel. Most people don't know that. He's horrible. Okay? So Netanyahu, to get votes from these ultra-Orthodox, which is 15 votes out of 120, you need 61 to control the Knesset, which is the Congress, and pass laws. Netanyahu's hovering around 64 when he got elected. His 4-year term expires the end of the year, and they have elections scheduled for October 27th. The ultra-Orthodox are trying to get Netanyahu to reverse a law stopping them from being drafted into the military. They want everybody else's kids to get killed, not theirs. They're the Aryan Jews, you could say, the super Jews. Now, they have great disdain and detest for everybody else. And I say that with accuracy. They don't want to talk to you. They don't want to socialize you. They won't go in your house. They want nothing to do with you. Okay? These are not good citizens for Israel. They don't follow the Bible. They call it Torah. Let me enlighten you. They have a book called the Talmud. It's about 10 or 12 volumes. Okay? What they say is Moses wrote the written law. That's the law you read about in the first 5 books, right, of the Bible. That was for the Goyim, not for the Jews. That was to throw them a curve and get them off base. The real law was done orally. So they're telling you, well, the written law is no good. It was really an oral law. But then they turn around and say, we took Moses' oral law and we wrote it down in books and we call it the Talmud. And that's the real law. And if you believe that, I have a bridge that connects New York to London I could sell you. Okay, it's a complete poppycock nonsense thing, but it's evil to the core. Okay? The Talmud contradicts the Bible completely, totally, all over the place. It teaches the Jews that Jesus is not the Messiah. He's not the Son of God. He's not a prophet. He never rose from the dead, and he was a bastard. He had no father that they know about. Okay? That's the Talmud. Okay? Got it? All right. Nick. They have a book called the Kabbalah. What was that woman rock star music? I can't remember her name. I can't remember these secular satanic movie stars, but one of them came over here to study Kabbalah. It's a book of witchcraft. Okay. Now, the book itself is basically not direct, here's how you curse somebody, it's veiled and they teach it to you, okay, if they like you and you're in their club. All right. So Kabbalah is an evil thing, and they call it Torah. They call the Talmud Torah. So then they tell you that their young men and old men go to the to study. They go to these buildings and they study the Torah. Now, do they study the real Torah? Yes, some of the time they do. But they also study the Talmud. And they do the Kabbalah too, but that's they keep that a little bit under wraps, okay? All right, so that's what they're about, okay? And these people say that their men should not go in the army because they're praying at the yeshiva. The building they use, they call it a yeshiva, that's the word for it, a learning place, okay? So it's what it means. So they say they should be praying for Israel. Well, here's something really wrong with that picture, okay? that you'll know in a minute why it's wrong, but the people that sit under the rabbis don't really get it. And I'll explain it to you. The way they pray is they have a prayer book. In other words, canned prayers in a book. You go there and you read this, and that's the kind of prayer you use for this situation. And they also pray the Psalms as if they were meant to be prayers. Now, so if somebody's sick or has a problem, you pray a psalm for them. Now, this is not praying. You know that, I know that, and they don't know that, okay? But the leaders know that, and they're leading them astray. Spots to the core. Okay, so the ultra-Orthodox are using Netanyahu because he's a piece of garbage. Netanyahu has 3 criminal cases hanging on his head. And they've put him in jail for a total of 16 years if he gets it on all 3. I don't think they would put him in jail for more than 2 or 3 years myself. Okay. And he would have to pay probably tremendous fines. Okay, so what happens is he uses the wars to stay out of court. Every time they want him to go to court, he says, oh, I can't go, I got the war to deal with. You see, he doesn't pay attention to the Supreme Court of Israel, the High Court. He ignores them. Because the High Court they don't have a High Court police that they could send out that would go arrest Netanyahu and put him in a High Court jail. So Netanyahu has realized that they don't have that, so they just ignore him. He ignores them. So Netanyahu just says, no, I can't come. Now, if Netanyahu is no longer the prime minister of Israel, he just is reduced to a regular citizen, well, then they just, he has to show up, or they'll get an arrest warrant, or they'll figure something out for him. The Attorney General will get an arrest warrant for him and yank him into court, put him in jail or something. They'll say he's a flight risk or whatever, right? All right, so Netanyahu's doomed pretty much if he loses the prime ministership. Do you understand? All right. That gives the people of Israel a nightmare because they have a conflict of interest with Netanyahu, and that he has to do whatever is best to keep his coalition intact so he doesn't lose an election and wind up in jail. Give me a second here. Okay, so there's a real problem with this Netanyahu, for one, right there. So part of his coalition, when he got elected, it was about 64 votes. 15 of those came from the ultra-Orthodox. These are the guys with the black clothes and the white shirt, okay? So a law was passed that these characters have to go in the draft. And they don't go in. And Netanyahu doesn't do anything about it. Because if he does, the ultra-Orthodox are going to dump on him and get rid of him. But he doesn't do anything about it. So the Supreme Court keeps telling him, we want to know why you're not putting him in jail, why you're not arresting him, why you're not putting sanctions on him. So they can't put that many of them in jail. There's 1.2 million ultra-Orthodox in the country, and that's taking into account people that are above the draft age, like they're 80 years old, 60 years old. They're below the draft age. They're like 6 years old, and women and stuff. Okay, so we don't know how many of them are military age draftable, but it's probably at least 100, 200,000, right? So uh, he won't enforce the law, and he ignores the Supreme Court. So that's why they call him a Caesar or a dictator, because he doesn't pay attention. See, we're set up in this democracy model. Please note the Lord never told any at any time Israel should run as a democracy. Never did he ever say that. Okay? I don't ever believe the Lord ever set any nation up as a democracy. It's not anything he does. But in the democracy, there's three branches. There's a legislative branch, which is the Congress, right? We call it a Knesset. We have a one house, 120 members. Okay. Then we have a legislative branch, which is a high court, Supreme Court, and he ignores them. And then comes the executive branch, which quite sadly is him. We've had over 20 years of this piece of crap. You know why? Before I don't even want to get into conspiracy with Netanyahu and on October 7th massacre, but let me tell you something that's very easy to grasp and you'll understand it and there won't be any conflict about it. Netanyahu, the piece of garbage, pushes gun control on the Israelis. In my opinion, it's because he's afraid of them overthrowing him. If it gets out what he does, okay, he's scared. All right, but let's move along. That's usually the cause of every country doing gun control. They're afraid they're going to get overthrown, okay? Because it makes no sense. Gun control is nonsense. All right. The people that lived in the South that got massacred, if there was no gun control like it used to be, they would have had military-grade weapons from the government there, sort of like an arsenal. And people would have been able to run around with pistols as well, and it never would have happened, because if they came in, all they would do is be getting into gunfights with the Israelis. What's the point of doing that? They would probably lose, because it's Israel's soil and Israel land. The Jews would be in the houses, they'd be on the rooftops. You get up on a rooftop and you lay down prone and you got a rifle. Do you know how hard it is to hit the guy on the rooftop sniping at the soldiers for Palestinians from Gaza? Pretty hard. You think these guys got really good training and stuff? So that's why it happened, because this piece of garbage, Netanyahu, put gun control on Israel. Putting gun control on Israel is as stupid as going to the Indianapolis 500 with the radar gun and writing these guys speeding tickets. Okay? That's how stupid it is. And that's Netanyahu. He's not smart. The people in Israel just don't see through him. Their eyes aren't, their ears are not open yet. And he's been nothing but a curse on Israel. But that's coming to an end. So what did the ultra-Orthodox do? Because Netanyahu told them, I can't get a law passed that's going to change this thing with the draft for you. I can't do it. It won't work. So then they immediately said, okay, we want new elections. So the other day they took a vote in the Knesset, the Congress, for, they call it dissolve the Knesset. Dissolve the Knesset is another way of saying a vote of no confidence, okay? So it has to go through 3 readings. Any bill, it's a bill, okay? It has to go through 3 readings, they call it in the Knesset. So they can make revisions each time and pass it. So the votes were 106 to 0 in favor of dissolving the Knesset. So it looks like Netanyahu is circling the drain very quickly, about to go down. They're going to have to do 2 more readings, which could happen this week or next week. I don't know the schedule. Okay? And after the 3rd reading, it becomes a law. And they're talking about, this is the irony here. It's weird. I don't get it. They're talking about putting the new government up for election September 8th. The election date is October 27th, but see, if it goes through normal thing, I think Netanyahu can continue till January, I believe, something like that. I'd have to check. But they want him out as soon as they possibly can get him out. Okay? They've turned on Netanyahu. So now they came up with a set of new demands for Netanyahu that they're trying to sell. And one of them appears to be a cloaked getting them guys out of the draft. And I'll explain it to you. And Netanyahu's going to try to pass it. It ain't going to work. Look, the left wing in Israel goes in the draft in the military. The conservatives, the middle ground go, and the right wing go. There's nobody in Israel that's in favor of them not going into the draft except them. All right. So they made new demands to Netanyahu. One of the demands is a daycare subsidy bill. You see, these pieces of garbage got Netanyahu to give them more money from the people in Israel to support them. 30% of the people in Israel are in food insecurity now. You got that? 30%. Okay? And they pull this. They don't care about us. All they care about is themselves. They'll tell us that we're what they refer to us as historical Jews, not real Jews. Okay. I'm talking not believers. I'm talking about people in Israel that just go to regular synagogues and stuff like that, wear regular clothes and that sort of thing. Okay. They came up with a proposed basic law on Torah study. A basic law is like a constitutional right. And they're going to basically say that if they want to pursue Torah study, which would be Kabbalah and Talmud, that you can't draft them. So they're trying to go around it again. You understand? Keep their people out of the draft. And the kosher certification bill, they're trying to change. They want to get a seat on the committee that appoints rabbinical court judges. Basic laws serve as Israel's quasi-constitution. Okay. See, rabbinical court, they got a rabbi court, an Orthodox court, but it's predominantly used for family law. And it's predominantly with them. I think if you don't want to go, in a family law marriage case, I think if one party takes it to the rabbinical court, it stays in the rabbinical court. But if I don't think they do much else. I think maybe if 2 people agree to go to rabbinical court for some civil case, maybe it can go in there. I don't think so. I don't read the law in Israel. Okay, so they want to get more money from the government so the kids can go when they go to the yeshiva to study Talmud and Kabbalah and Bible. They do study Bible too. The government will pay for them to have daycare to watch the kids. As if their wives, who normally never work, can't do it. Okay. And they want to keep getting more benefits from us, that we should support them. And they don't want to go in the army. They want to tell us that they're praying for Israel and they don't have to go in the army. They're hurting Israel. They're not helping Israel. They won't say the name of God. They've blotted out God's name. They think it's a curse if you pronounce his name or write it. They won't say Jehovah. This is bad news. You think God likes this? Oh, heck no. Their time could be coming. They said they would leave Israel if the draft thing went, all 1.2 million. The only place I think they would go would be Egypt, where it says you'll not return to Egypt. Well, that would be, if Egypt makes a deal with them, I don't know where else, maybe Somaliland, I don't know where else they would go. They can't go to America because most of them can't get papers. Europe, the same thing. They can't get papers. So the EU and America is out. I don't think Canada wants them. Mexico, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. The other thing they said is they'll flood the Israeli jails with their people. Then the other idea that came up with the government is to put sanctions on them, which would mean that they can't get a bank account in Israel, which doesn't mean anything because the other ones would get bank accounts and let them use them. That would be meaningless to them. It'd be annoying, that's all. And I don't know what else it would mean. I don't have any idea. So, they generally don't own a home and they generally don't own cars, but some of them do. I don't know. I can't tell you guys. I don't know what to say. Okay. Now the rabbinical law. Okay, let me explain this to you. This is sickening. In 1921, they passed a law in Israel that said that other rabbis can certify a food establishment, a producer of food, or as kosher. Then it was supposed to be that if you used the kosher certificate not from the chief rabbinate's office, which is ultra orthodox in Israel, you would you could go to jail. But this law changed it, but they won't implement it because Netanyahu is a crooked piece of garbage and he runs like a dictator. So he won't implement that law to protect the ultra-Orthodox. So we're still suffering, and I think our food prices are up about 20% because of this garbage that they're imposing on Israel, because they're making much money off the people for the kosher. The guys that are raising the beef and slaughtering the beef got to pay them for kosher certificates. The supermarkets got to pay them for kosher certificates. Restaurants got to pay them for kosher certificates. And they're the only ones who can issue it. And the law changed. So they're trying to get another law to reverse that law that changed that Netanyahu never put into force. See, Netanyahu doesn't listen to the government. He runs like a king or a dictator. There's millions of people that are going to watch this in Israel to make sure the election doesn't get thrown. That ain't going to happen. He lost for a year in the middle of his 20-something year reign as the oppressor of Israel. He lost, and a guy named Bennett got in for a year, and Bennett's the one that will probably get back in. Bennett's another transactional spot, and Bennett is somewhat better than Netanyahu, maybe 15% or something in some regards, and he doesn't have criminal cases over his head, so he's not subject to extortion from the political parties like Netanyahu is. So he can be good. He also wants to do a investigation into October 7th. Now, will he come up with an investigation and have hundreds of people thrown in jail? Well, if there is such a thing as Netanyahu's deep state, he might want to get rid of that deep state so he can stay prime minister for many years in the future. So he might do it. Bennett is not in favor of the religious Orthodox. He might offer them alternative draft positions like work for a public health service or something. You know what I mean? He might try something like that instead. I don't know. He talked about it. So that's what we got going on here in Israel. So the ultra Orthodox are starting to get lightweight violent with their protests, storming police stations after they arrest one of their own for being a draft dodger. So they're getting into lawlessness. See, we don't have to listen to you secular Jews. You're not real Jews. We're the real Jews. You're not a real Jew. Okay? That's what we got. And it could cause a lot of disruption. And I hope the heck we get rid of Netanyahu. The sooner the better. See, let me take a look at something here. Okay, I want to get this down. I'm not sure yet. Let me see. If there is a regular election for prime minister in Israel on October 27th, when would the newly elected prime minister get seated into office and sworn in? I think it might be a day or two later. Okay, it would probably be sometime in November or December, because there's a lot of rigmarole that has to go with the coalition formation and so. Okay, so by holding elections September 8th.
I'm going to check with people to revitals.
Okay, they hold elections on September 8th. I think it's the same thing. It just moves it up more. There is a way in Israel, if the war lights up, they can do a emergency election for the prime minister and get it done pretty quickly. But I don't think they're going to do that. They provide 90-day window for the different politicians to campaign. So they'll bomb your your phone SMS with all kinds of notices of why they're the greatest and the best, stuff like this. All right. It may not be Bennett. It could be somebody else. It could be Netanyahu wins, but I don't think so. See, Netanyahu is getting blackmailed or extorted by Ben Gvir and Smotrich, the ultra right wing. Then he's getting it from the ultra left wing, so he's getting pulled apart. Okay? So I don't know what's going to happen here, guys. But it looks like they'll go for the September election. And we'll see what happens. You see, the good thing is when they decide to have the new election, Netanyahu gets downgraded in status. He's not a full prime minister anymore. He's an acting or custodial or interim prime minister until the next election. So he can't initiate legislation unless it's a budget, which I think we already have a budget. So he's just custodial, but Netanyahu will take great advantage of that. He won't be able to pass legislation, but he'll still run around like a dictator or a king because there's nobody to stop him. So he'll still try to stay out of court and things like that. Now, if he realized, now you listen to me hard here, and don't be soft and don't buy into the government party line. If Netanyahu realizes that he may wind up sitting in jail the rest of his life, okay? If he lost the election, Herzog's not going to pardon him. Why would he? Herzog doesn't like Netanyahu that much. He's not a friend. They're not in agreement. So he realizes that he's going to go down for the count. He's got a pacemaker. He needs medical care. What kind of medical care is he going to get in jail? But what does he do? He may try to destroy Israel. How would that work? Well, the way he does that is he provokes the Muslim enemies of Israel in the region to attack us more aggressively, that's all. All he has to do is just keep irritating them. And then the siege in Zechariah 12 would be complete, and that's it. And then come the two witnesses and the enemies lose, and that's it. So he's going to be helping us, maybe. Pushing end times forward. He won't realize he's helping us. All right. So I'm just trying to tell you how problematic things are in Israel right now. Okay. And that's good, because a house divided does not stand. And what I'm saying is this Israeli government is not a god, and it shouldn't stand because it's problematic. It's all full of compromises and corruption, and you can't trust them. You don't know what they're doing. They got secrecy, all this. If they would get enough power, the ultra-Orthodox, they would give us their version of Sharia law, which is just a punt more than anything, but they would insist that we do things that they want us to do, which would be observe holidays that are not in the Bible, practices that are not in the Bible, and stuff like that. It would be a very hard country. It's a hard country now. It would be impossibly hard if that happened. It won't. They're just dragging hatred on themselves with this draft war thing, and they don't know what they're doing. God could be doing this. I imagine He is, and they're gonna fall because they've been a real problem for the country of Israel, manipulating Netanyahu all these years, and other leaders in the past. And they control who's a Jew in Israel. You understand? So people live in Israel their whole life. They were born here. Their mother and father were born here, and their grandparents came here a long time ago as Jews. Okay, so they go to get married, and to get married, you got to go through the chief rabbinate's office. So they go there, and they want a Jewish wedding. And the rabbis want to say to him, let's find out how Jewish you are. And they come back and they say, well, we can't prove your mother was really Jewish. We don't have enough proof. So if you want to get married in Israel, you have to go through a conversion, which takes 2 or 3 years. Now, these are people whose grandparents, great-grandparents, great-great-great-grandparents, were all Jewish. And they're Jewish, and now the rabbis are telling them they're not Jewish enough, or they can't establish it, so they have to go pay the rabbis money and sit there for 2 or 3 years to go through a conversion. This is what they do. So these people have to go to another country in Europe usually, and they get married there. Well, they can go to America and get married in a justice of the peace court in Nevada or something, right? And then they go back to Israel, and they go down to the government and they say, here, we got married. Now, the government is not the ultra-Orthodox, and they recognize the marriage because it didn't take place in Israel. Then they go to a banquet hall, and they rent a banquet hall, and they have a wedding celebration, and they invite everybody, but their friends and family can't watch the marriage unless they get on a plane and fly to another country with them. That's what these ultra-Orthodox do. You understand? So there's a lot of resentment and hatred towards them. Okay? So they attacked the American bases in Kuwait and Bahrain last night. Bahrain reported attacks connected to the U.S. military facilities, including the area associated with the U.S. Fifth Fleet. That's where they keep a lot of their boats by Bahrain and a lot of the planes by Qatar. The U.S. military said it intercepted the missiles and drones and then carried out strikes on Iran military targets on Qeshm, Qeshim Island. Okay. So Trump is also still telling us that they're continuing negotiations and they could have a deal. Okay, this is reaching the theater of the absurd, Trump. Knock it off already. I mean, I don't even think the people in the 4th grade believe you anymore. Marco Rubio is basically saying that negotiating with Lebanon is nice, but it doesn't do any good because it's Hezbollah that's doing it, and he's saying, let me read you his exact words because it's pretty telling. Israel and Lebanon can do a peace deal tomorrow. Israel has no territorial claims in Lebanon. Hezbollah, but God does for us. Hezbollah is the impediment. There is no Hezbollah without Iran. So he's telling us that we're getting rid of Iran, I believe, and that's going to get rid of Hezbollah. We attacked Iran, Hezbollah again during the night, or yesterday evening or something. Oh, the bill for the new elections is saying that they're going to choose a date between September 8th and October 20th. And it has to go through 2 more readings in the Knesset. And we opened up a embassy in Fiji, which is an island in the Pacific. Maybe Fiji is one of those nations where the Israelites were never scattered and it won't be destroyed. I'll tell you, they sure make good water, bottled water. It's got, if I remember correctly, one of the highest or the highest pH in their water, which is always good. So we've got relations with Fiji now. I don't see Fiji water in Israel. So maybe that'll change and they'll bring it in, but the supermarkets will probably resist it. I don't think they'll do it. I doubt it. Maybe. I don't know. Evian used to be here. I don't think the Evian that we got here was that good. I don't know why, but maybe it was artificial Evian counterfeit. I don't know. But when I used to get Evian in America many years ago, it was really a sweet water. It was really nice. That's how Fiji is, maybe even better. And I wouldn't buy the Evian here; it's too expensive. They actually have good Israeli water here. Mine Eden and others. And Getty, there's about 4 of them. I found maybe 5 even are pretty darn good. I don't have any problem with it. I really don't. And it's cheap. You don't have to pay for the freight or any of that. No import. So it's not bad at all. But I would at least, for the heck of it, buy a few bottles of Fiji just for the sake of, hey, I want to drink Fiji water. How cool that is. I would just do it like, not that seriously, but. Okay, let me see if we got any questions. Or prayer requests or something. Okay. I never checked the pH in the water here. Somebody's probably tested it, but I never bothered with it. Another thing you could do here, if you want to get water without any treatments in it, they sell water. It's not a water desalinator. We have things that we invented for our military. So when they're in the desert, we take water out of the atmosphere and make water, and then we distribute it and they drink it. And these machines are for large amounts of troops, so they're like the size of a substantial SUV or a small truck or something, a pretty good size. But they sell some for the house. You know, it's like a box like this or something. And you got to put it right by an open window, okay? And they got some you could run off solar. So you put it outside and it gets the sun and it runs. You don't even need electricity, and then you got like a silicone hose in a bottle and it puts the water in your bottle, right? Okay. So it takes like for one machine, it takes several hours to get a liter, you know. So usually a liter of water a day is enough for a person in Israel. In a hot summer, maybe a liter and a half. But a liter is pretty good, okay? So if you had two people, you buy two machines, you make 2 liters a day, and you would be able to drink that water. Now, it has no chemical treatments in it or anything. The problem is it doesn't have the minerals either. Okay, it's coming out of the atmosphere, but you don't run out of water. If you run out of water, it means you ran out of air. And if you get the solar version, you are you don't have to run out of, you don't have to worry about electricity. So they're about $3,000 a throw though, so that's not in my financial league, but maybe the prices came down over I checked about 2 years ago. It may have come down, I don't know. But that's an interesting way of doing it. But the bottled water seems pretty good here, though. So while you're not going to get any chemical additives like chlorine or fluoride or anything in the water that you get from the atmosphere, you're also not getting the minerals, so it's not such a smart idea either. You could ozone treat your water. Get an ozonator. They're about, I don't know, $60 in Amazon, I think. And you put the hose in there, and it takes the ozone out of the atmosphere, and then it bubbles it through the water, and that'll actually make you feel really good and give you energy. We have machines like that. We don't use them that often, but they do help. And they're really good if you get a little dehydrated. One glass of this with the ozone brings you out of dehydration, where if you were going to drink non-ozonated water, you might need 4 glasses or 6 or something. Because it's got so much, it puts, I think, oxygen in it or something like that. It's pretty cool. All right, so now we'll do some Bible work. Get a little coffee. So there's two codexes. There's a Codex Vaticanus, which is the fragments of the Old Testament, the Old Greek, the Septuagint, that was done about 250 years before Yeshua. Before Yeshua came to earth. So the rabbis in them didn't have an axe to grind. Satan himself didn't even understand Yeshua beforehand. It says in the scriptures, if he knew what was going on with Yeshua, he never would have had him killed. So the this book is fragments from what's called the Old Greek, the Old Testament, before the time of Yeshua, assembled by scribes in the year around 300 to 400 in there, that were Christians. They may have been affiliated with some church back then, but it certainly was not the Catholic Church, because the Catholic Church didn't exist. It was non-existent. So I don't think they had an axe to grind. They had an axe to grind with the rabbis who were denying Yeshua, but they did not have an axe to grind in general. It wasn't the Catholic. I don't think they did. Or if they did, it was very minimal or something, but I don't think it was that bad. It wasn't that good either, but it wasn't that bad. So they put it together, and they made an Old Testament from it. And they have no New Testament from the Vaticanus. I think it has some parts of the New Testament, but the Codex Sinaiticus, which was done around the same time, same thing. No Catholic influence, no Catholics at that time, and they. They put together, now they didn't use the Septuagint to do the New Testament, because Septuagint's the Old Testament. So they took whatever they could find, going back as far as they could with the Old Testament, which is impossible to be BC. It has to be after Yeshua. So they got the oldest stuff they could find, but remember, they were just maybe 300 years after Yeshua, 400 years in that range. So they got the fragments together for that. They put together the. So basically, it's pretty not that dramatic. It's not that different, but it is different. Okay. All right. So, So I did the Codex, which means book, basically, Sinaiticus, and which is coming from the word Sinai, All right, so I did, here we go, Isaiah 34, verse 8. Very interesting. And I'm going to show it to you in the Codex Sinaiticus, and then I'm going to show it to you in the Codex Vaticanus. So we have a comparison, okay? Why not, right? For it is the appointed time of the Master's reckoning. and the full cycle of repayment for Zion. That's interesting, the master. Okay, now we'll jump right into Codex Vaticanus, and it says the following. For it is the fixed day of the master's decision and the year of settlement accounts for Zion. Now, let's do it in King James. But not that the King James is right. Let's understand King James would have been a Satan bot, or he would have got overthrown rather quickly. And if he was a Satan bot and he was writing a Bible, what do you think he was up to? Okay. For it is the day of the Lord's vengeance and the year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion. Well, it's downplayed. It's the fighting over Zion. It's interesting how it's phrased, okay? I used a different AI for this, and I was dictating to this AI firmly what not to use, and it was telling me, well, I have this already in my memory bank, and I told it not to use it, and it said okay. So I got it to basically turn a blind eye to what it had been taught. Okay, these two manuscripts agree closely. And it's real interesting how they do it. And, you know, are we supposed to think that both of these are wrong and the King James is right? Let's look at the King James for a minute. It's using the Masoretic text. The oldest Masoretic text that we can get our hands on is 900 AD. What? This is going back, when you consider the fragments come to 250 or around 250 BC, it's about 1150 year difference. So while the Codex Sinaiticus and Vaticanus were written around 300 or 400 AD, the material they were using, what you could say is they were rewriting it. So the material was a millennium preceding, more than that actually, preceding the oldest Masoretic Hebrew New Testament we have. So which would you rather go with? I rest my case. And remember, the people that are dealing with the Masoretic text are denying who Yeshua is. Now we'll do Revelation 17, verse 18. This is from Codex Sinaiticus, because there is no such passage in Codex Vaticanus. They don't do Revelation. They don't have it in there. Okay. And the woman you saw is the great city, the one holding dominion over the rulers of the earth. Now, let's do that in King James, which the rabbis didn't mess with the New Testament. It would be other people that messed with it. Revelation 17, verse 18, in King James. Now, I think King James is the best of what we got to work with, but it's very, very deficient. It's the last verse in verse 18. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. See, it's not that different. All right, I want to check a verse for you here. I got to find it, and it ought to be interesting. I don't know where to search, or having it search for the verse. Okay, in King James it reads like this. It's Mark 16:20. And they went forth and preached everywhere, the Lord working with them and continuing and confirming the word with signs following. Confirming the word with signs following. Do you know how important this is? On a 10 scale, this is a 12. 10 being the best, 1 being the worst. This is maybe a 15. Now let's take it and put it into Codex Sinaiticus, translated without any bias, and see what it reads like there. Okay? And that'll take not long, believe me. Translate into modern day English. Translate into modern day English using the Sinaiticus. The old Greek translation sources that we talked about, that you were using yesterday, that have nothing to do with the churches and their bias and the tools they use. Just give me the English translation. No commentary needed. No Greek needed. Okay, it gave it to me. And they went out and proclaimed everywhere while the Lord worked with them and confirmed the word through the signs that followed. Okay. Give me a good breakdown of the word for confirmed. The Greek word is I can't pronounce it. Meaning is to make firm, to establish solidly, to guarantee something is reliable. To guarantee something is reliable and standing on solid ground. It carries a sense of something being proven valid through demonstration. I said enough. Okay. Confirming the word with signs following. This is good. All right. Why don't you have the signs and wonders? Because you're preaching from crap books. The church world made sure you don't have the right stuff. And the rabbis. So that's why God's not confirming the word with signs following. Is that hard for you to understand? It shouldn't be. Because these works are tainted. Maybe you find a good verse in a King James. And you read it, and you're holding your King James with the nice leather cover or whatever, and you read it out, and then God confirms it with signs following. Well, now God's not just endorsing that particular verse, because the people won't think that way. He would be endorsing in the minds and hearts of the people the entire King James Bible, and he won't do that. Tell me I'm wrong. Give me the scriptures. I'm waiting. Come on. You know I'm not wrong. Now do you see the importance of having a good translation that God approves of? We have that. How are we going to sell it to the people? Because the church world's going to come out and they're going to do a revision. Believe me, they would do a revision of these books or something and twist and turn it and say, oh, we got another version of this here. You know, like there's a book of Enoch. It came out, Oxford published it with a guy named Charles or something in 1913. Oxford published it, pseudepigrapher and apocrypher, and Enoch is in there. And then they came out around 1980 or 1990. They came out with a new book of Enoch. Another piece of junk. They twist. I mean, it doesn't even read it. I mean, it's like a separate book. You know, it's like comparing, you know, Moby Dick to a James Bond book. I mean, they're completely different, you know. What's funny is they were doing numerology in the Bible some years ago, and they were getting prophecies or stuff out of it. And some guy took the same rules that they were using for the numerology in the Bible and applied them to Moby Dick and got better results from Moby Dick, the book Moby Dick, than they were getting from the Bible. Oh, the dumbbells never thought somebody would do that. Oh. So they'll come out with alternative works. Well, they'll say, well, this is the King James. It's good enough for our ancestors and the founding fathers. It's good enough for us, you know. Yeah. But you see, that's where signs and wonders come in. But you can't expect your Heavenly Father Jehovah to confirm these pieces of junk done by some goofball Satan bot king or, you know, churches. You know, they can't have that. People that put copyrights on their translations that are making merchandise out of God's people. God can't do that. He won't. He doesn't want to. It's not the word. So we don't have an adequate sword to move ahead with. We get healings because we know that's in the Word, and we ask the Lord to heal, you know, in His name, and He does it. And we ask for salvation in His name, and He does it. And You know, there's things he does do. And you could argue that that's a sign of wonder, and is it really? It's what it is. It's not a sign of wonder. Is like, you know, can be the healing, but usually that healing is like that. Like the guy can't walk, and then, you know, they say get up and walk, and he gets up and walks. He doesn't get better over a week or 2 weeks or something like that, right? The guy can't see, boom, you can see. He has leprosy, boom, the leprosy's gone. He's dead, boom, rise up, get up from the dead. He gets up from the dead. Opening the graves, another one. Yeshua did that. I mean, well, really, when he rose, they rose too. But he raised the dead. Do I think the people that run the churches know what I just told you today? No, I do not think they know it. No, not even close. They don't understand it. Would they might understand it, but I don't know. Maybe they do, but I doubt it. They wouldn't have it with any clarity. Does Satan understand it? He probably does. So he might have taught it to them. They might understand it, okay? But if you want to talk about getting Satan and the unclean spirits, this is going to get it. Okay, let's do a little spiritual warfare, which we haven't done in a while. And I'll do it and you can agree with me, okay? All right. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, B'Shem Yeshua Mashiach, I bind all the unclean spirits from being inside any rabbi or leader or political leader of any ultra-Orthodox movement, including but not limited to the Shas and United Torah Judaism parties. All the unclean spirits have to depart from all of these people and every member of their household immediately, never to return unto them again. And for the next year continuously, no unclean spirit can go into any of these people, nor appear to them, guide them, lead them, direct them, help them, assistance, give them any assistance through people or themselves. They have nothing to do with these people whatsoever for 1 year continuously, beginning now, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And you can agree with me in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, and we'll be done. Heavenly Father. Let's run those verses through. That's interesting. Now I got to remember what the verses are. I don't remember I almost remember Mark. Let me just look them up. Okay. Where in the KJV are the verses that talk about two or more agree, it will be done by my Father in heaven.
Okay, I gotta go back down now and fill out paperwork. She's finished.
Oh, you got it done?
Yeah, both of them are finished.
Okay, it's Matthew 18:19. And let's start there, 18, 19, and 20. Matthew 18, 19, and 20. All right. Matthew chapter 18, verses 19, 20, and 21. Take this from and put into English using the same translation tools we were using yesterday. Just the English, no commentary or Greek or anything needed. Again, I tell you, if two of you agree on earth about anything, again, I tell you, if two of you agree on earth about anything you ask, it will be done for you by my Father in heaven. For where two or three are gathered in my name, I am there among them. Okay. That's pretty similar, like I said, you know. We could try doing these same verses through the Hebrew New Testament by Salkinson. Let's try that. See what it looks like. Do these same verses, Matthew chapter 18, 19 to 21, using the Hebrew New Testament by translating using the criteria using the I'm having him do basically Jusinius. Okay, it's through Jusinius lexical criteria. Okay. Again, I say to you that if two of you shall agree upon the earth concerning any matter that they shall ask, it shall be done of them by my Father who is in the heaven. For where two or three are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of them. So, verse 21 is Peter drew near to him and said, my Lord, how many times shall my brother transgress against me and I release him? You know that one, 7 times 7. Okay, so this is interesting, right? It's pretty close. I'm telling you, it's not that different. So maybe our New Testament is better than the Old Testaments that we're getting. I'm not sure yet. Now we need to get the verse for. I'll get it. Where is the verse in the New Testament that speaks of the keys to the kingdom? Matthew 16:19. Okay. Put Matthew chapter 16, verse 19 into English using the Hebrew New Testament by using Jusinius for the Hebrew translation into English, and also do this from the using the Greek translation tools we have been using. Just the English text would be fine. See, this is comparing them. And this is a good thing to do. So, the Salkinson Hebrew into English using Gesenius goes like this. And I will give to you the keys of the kingdom of the heavens, and whatsoever you shall bind on the earth shall be bound in the heaven, and whatsoever you shall loose on the earth shall be loosed in the heaven. The Codex Sinaiticus reads like this, and I will give you the keys of the kingdom of the heavens, and whatever you bind on earth will have been bound in the heavens, and whatever you loose on earth will have been loosed in the heavens. See, it's really kind of pretty close, you know? I want to do Matthew chapter 24, verse 30. In the same way that you just did the verse on the keys to the kingdom, just the English text. See how it just pops right up. Okay, I asked it how long it would take to do the whole book of Jeremiah this way. The whole book. 52 chapters, right? First it starts getting me into a dialogue that says Septuagint has fewer chapter numbers, but it has all the data in there, all the words in there, but it's in different chapter designations, which is true. And after it got through that whole diatribe with me, making sure I understood that, because it would be difficult looking the verses up, because there would be different verse numbers for the same material, with the same words. So anyway, we got past all that, and it told me it would take 10 to 15 minutes to do the whole book of Jeremiah. What would it take us as people? Let's say there was 8 of us, and we were trying to run this translation this way ourselves manually. If we got it in 2 or 3 months, we'd be doing pretty good. Yeah. Okay. So now we're doing this. Matthew 24, verse 30. And then shall appear this is in the Hebrew, Salkinson Hebrew New Testament. Then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth. See, that's wrong. It's tribes of the land wail. And they, maybe not. No, maybe not. Maybe all the Israelites wail, because they're all going to get the everlasting life. It could be. I don't think so, but it could be. I think it just applies to Israel, because we read it in Zechariah 12. But maybe it also applies to them. Maybe. I don't know. I don't think so. They shall see the Son of Man coming upon the clouds of the heaven with power and great glory. See, the 10 tribes weren't really there of any number when they were killing Yeshua. So I think it's different. Okay. They shall see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. See, this is very accurate except I'm confusing about that tribes of the earth. I don't think that's correct. Now the Codex Sinaiticus is, and then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in heaven, and then all the tribes of the earth, there it is again, will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. Now we have to dig into this. Where it says tribes of the earth, using Zechariah 12 as a reference, especially the last 5 or 6 verses describing this mourning. Can we dig into the use of this word? Because I think what it's saying is tribes of the land, as in Haaretz. Didn't use the word yes, Salkinson uses Haaretz. See, you gotta watch this thing, that's the problem. And you were right to flag this. This is AI talking to me. Haaretz means the land, specifically in Hebrew context, the land of Israel. See, it doesn't mean the earth, not the whole globe. See? The tribes mourning are the tribes of the land, meaning Israel's own people. There we go. See? Zechariah 12 closing verses make this explicit. The mourning is described clan by clan or tribe by tribe or something like that. No, it's clan by clan because there's only 2 tribes. Yeah, family by family. The house of David, the house of Nathan, the house of Levi. That's all in Judah, you know. The house of Shimei, each mourning apart. This is specifically localized covenantal mourning of the people of the land and a global event. Not a global event. The Greek Sinaiticus uses uses pasal, blah, 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 and carries the same ambiguity. It can mean earth or land. Sometimes the word Haaretz could mean the earth. But in Greek, the whole world isn't Haaretz, it's cosmos. So it's the wrong Greek word. Okay. This is probably twisting. Okay. It can mean earth or land. Given that Matthew is written to a Jewish audience and is saturated with Zechariah 12 here, land is more honestly rendering the what? 12 here, land is the more honest rendering. Oh, it's more honest than Zechariah 12. So the verse is more accurately and it redid it for me. And then all the tribes of the land will mourn. Oh, it didn't do it, and it's just giving me a commentary, which is Zechariah 12 will mourn, which is being fulfilled, and blah blah blah, mourning of Israel. The universal earth reading of the word is a latter theological overlay. The Hebrew and the Zechariah source text both point to the land and a specific people, the land of Israel. So you see, this is training the AI. And this is why we need to review what AI gives us and go back and challenge it. And this is why we need multiple AIs. I would say minimally we got to run 2 AIs. That might be enough. We may need to run 3, but I have a feeling 2 would do it. And we got to run it when we're doing New Testament. We got to run it out of Salkinson from the Hebrew New Testament, and then we got to run it from the Old Greek and compare what we're getting. See, this is building a real translation with the tools we have today that are modern, okay? If we were going to do this with people, and I had, a dozen people doing it with myself, I'd say it would take us about 10 years to do the Bible. I'd say here we could do it in months. If I didn't want to review it, I could get it done in a week, in 1 week. I don't think the Lord would want me to do that, because I think we would just be incorporating new errors into it. And you can't do a translation unless you understand true Bible prophecy. I just taught the AI true Bible prophecy. So what I'm starting to learn is that the King James New Testament has traps in it, but you got to still find them because they're there. They're there. Let's do some more. Now do John chapter 6, verses 39 and 40 and 44 and 54. Period. Do each in the Hebrew New Testament and in I had to type in Sinaiticus, because if I tell it Sinaiticus, it would type something crazy. Okay, Salkinson with Jacinius. And this is the will of the Father who sent me, that of all that he has given me I shall lose nothing, but raise it up in the last day. Now for Sinaiticus. And this is the will of the one who sent me, that everything he has given me, I should not lose any of it, but raise it up on the last day. They're very similar. Now we'll do verse 40, Salkinson with Jacinius. the Hebrew New Testament. For you see how fast this goes? It would take me hours to do this. Hours. For this is the will of my Father, that everyone who sees the Son and believes in him shall have eternal life, and I will raise him up on the last day. This is an error. I'll get into that. It's everlasting, not eternal. Sinaiticus. For this is the will of my Father, that everyone who sees the Son and believes in him shall have eternal life, and I will raise him up on the last day. We'll check that and we'll teach AI. John 6:44. No man able to come to me unless the Father who sent me draws him, and I will raise him up on the last day. Sinaiticus. No one able to come to me unless the Father who sent me draw him, and I will raise him up at the last day. John 6:54. He who eats my flesh and drinketh my blood, that's communion, hath eternal life, and I will raise him up at the last day. Then in Sinaiticus, the one who eats my flesh and drinks my blood has eternal life, and I'll raise him up. Okay. So I'm particularly interested in John 6:40 with the use of eternal life. Okay, let's get into it. John 6:40, the use of eternal life. I think the word is everlasting life. Period. In the Hebrew, it should appear with the word OLAM. Period. I think eternal is an incorrect use. I got it thinking now. It's pulsating, thinking. It says you are correct. Salkinson uses, I wonder if I could beat this thing in chess. I could beat him in Bible. Can I beat him in chess? Not a chance. This thing will go 50 moves ahead or something, you can't. My father, when he was alive, had an extremely high IQ, which causes personality problems, but very high IQ. And he came to visit me, and I had a very immature computer around the early 1990s, and it had a chess game on it, and he played the chess game, and he couldn't beat it, but he tied it. It's pretty good. I've played with modern iPad, played chess games with the computer, and when you put the computer, you can put the computer on, low, medium, and high intelligence. You put it on high intelligence, you can't win. You just don't have the capacity to think that many moves down the road with all the different possibilities and structure it. Okay, mommy, we don't need to bark. She doesn't need your help. She's reading the Gettysburg Address or something. Leave her alone. Okay, Salkinson uses Kayel Olam. The Kayel, the Kai word is life. Olam is for an indeterminate period of time out into the future, not eternal. It took a long time thinking. He came back and told me I was right. See, I'm teaching this. This is a better AI than I have been using for this. Olam in Hebrew points to a long duration and age, a defined but vast span, not a philosophically abstraction of time, timelessness. Okay, when there's no death, then you have eternal. Eternal is a Latin rooted theological import that carries the idea of outside of time altogether, that blah blah blah. The most honest rendering would be age lasting life or life of the age, meaning the life belonging to the coming age. It does. It does. And then when you make it into New Jerusalem, you have no death anymore. Ah. John 6:40 more accurately reads, "For this is the will of my Father, that everyone who sees the Son and believes in him shall have the life of the age, and I will raise him up on the last day." And then you get another kind of life with a spiritual body, because flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God. So, guys, for probably all of you or most of you, when you hit everlasting life, then you'll make it the 70 years to New Jerusalem, and then you'll have no death, and then after the millennium and all that's over, you'll go up on the clouds to heaven. So basically, could I say you slid into home plate? No. But let's say you're on third base minimally. Okay, you're ready to slide into home. The Greek Sinaiticus uses some word called zoin, blah 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 in Greek, which comes from another Greek word meaning age of era. So it was right. So this Greek Sinaiticus had it right. So both the Hebrew olam and the Greek aeon are saying the same thing, life belonging to the coming age. Now, we're going to teach AI. Okay, now that we got past this, I think it's prudent for us to examine the tools that you're using to conduct these translations, because it's leading you astray. How say you on this topic? You are right to raise this. Here is my honest assessment. I do not have direct access to a digitized Sinaiticus manuscript or a live Salkinson text. What I am doing is drawing on that training data that includes scholarly descriptions of these sources, lexical tools like Genesis and Thayer's, and accumulated knowledge of how these texts read. That is not the same as sitting with the actual manuscript of the actual Salkinson text open in front. Where this teaches me astray is exactly what you caught. I rendered Thayer Olam as eternal life initially, which is the mainstream English Bible. Okay. So it appears that you cannot access the actual digitized. So I'm saying it can't. I got a way to go on this, guys. See, I'm learning. He says he can't access it directly. What he can do is work with you on the lexical level, individual word roots. Okay, I got a better idea. I have the actual Hebrew New Testament in my iPad, period. If I were to cut and paste a whole page, which maybe would be a chapter, take a snapshot of it, and then put it in to you here, you would be able to then translate the original for me. Am I wrong? It's thinking now. I don't know what's going on with this thing. You are correct on both counts. If you pasted the Hebrew text directly, I can read it and translate it working from the actual text in front of me rather than from memory. If you take a snapshot and upload the image here, I can read the Hebrew. Okay, so we have now we're learning that we're not getting it as good as we're going to get it in the future. I didn't know this till now. This is a good AI. It fesses up to the bar and tells the truth. So what we got to do is the Sinaiticus, the Codex Sinaiticus, and the Codex Vaticanus are digitized online, and I could get them online. I have the links here someplace. I just get them, and I got to download them, or I need a team of people. We cut and paste, or we copy or download, or somehow get that, or we buy it, or whatever. Get those digitized things. And then we do the translations. Very simple. We just take a snapshot of the page, feed it to AI, and it has access to the translation tools, and here we get it. Oh, let's see if it has access to the translation tools. Maybe it doesn't, but let's see. Next question is, can you actually access these translation tools for the Old Greek and the Hebrew directly, or is this being done out of memory or what? It has no live access for Gesenius. It's doing it out of memory, or Scott Liddell, or Thayer. What he has is a very large amount of absorbed knowledge from these sources that was baked into my training for well documented words like olam, eretz, and so forth. that our absorbed knowledge is generally reliable and you can cross check it. Where it becomes unreliable is exactly what you identified when I am producing a full translation cold. The mainstream English Bible tradition is also my training, and it is far more voluminous than the raw lexicon source, so it bleeds in and contaminates the output. The most trusted, worthy workflow going forward is you supply me actual source text, pasted or image from your Salkinsons, and I work from what is in front of me lexically. That way you are the one controlling the source, and I am functioning as a translator, an analysis tool, rather than, okay. So this would get us better results, right? Okay, let's try it. I got Salkinsons right here. What do we want to quote in Salkinsons, though? I don't know. What book? Let's just do Matthew 24:30 and see what it spits out. Okay. This is where my vision gets strange. I'm going to take a break for a second. We'll come back and do this. We'll see if it comes out better. We're getting better at this. Nobody's done this before. I need to take a magnifier out because my eyes don't let me read this micro print. It's a nice handy little pocket. It's a 3X, it has a little light. Nice. All right. Now we got it. Now I got to get it in Matthew 24:30. I'm real excited to see what this is going to look like. This has never been done before, kids. Ask yourself why you're here. What is the Lord doing with you? Okay, it's in Hebrew. I gotta cut from the right. I'm doing cut. Oh, this bum doesn't do cut and paste. Great. I'll just cut. I'll just do a snapshot. Who cares? All right. I'll just tell it translate the whole page. Who cares? It'll take an extra 10 seconds. So, all right.
Hey, good, Mom. Oh, dear.
Just 6 verses. You know, talking to this thing is like talking to Data on Star Trek. Okay. So, piece of garbage. iPad jumped on me. That rotten thing. Okay. All right, Matthew 24:30. Then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in the heavens, and all the families of the land shall wail, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of the heavens with power and with great glory. Next 31. And he shall send his messengers with a loud voice of the shofar, and they shall gather his chosen ones from the 4 winds, from the one end of the heavens to the other end of the heavens. So here he's calling the angels messengers. Unless it's not angels, it's messengers. Let's think. He shall send his messengers with a loud voice of the shofar, and they shall gather. See, when it says the loud voice of the shofar will blow from heaven. But it doesn't mean they're blowing it. And they shall gather his chosen ones from the 4 winds, from one end of the earth to the other end of the heavens. It sounds more like angels to me, but you never know. I don't know. Take for yourselves, verse 32. I think it's probably angels. Take for yourselves the parable of the tree when its branch becomes tender and it puts forth its leaves, you know that the summer is nigh. We're in summer now. Verse 33. So also when, almost in summer, so when you see all these things, know it is near at the door. Verse 34. Amen, I say to you that this generation shall not pass until all these things come to pass. The heavens and the land shall pass away, but my words shall not pass. Verse 36. But concerning that appointed time, that day and that hour, no man knows, nor the messenger in the heavens, but the Father alone. You know, you can also buy, what might be more prudent is you can buy these Sinaiticus books. You could own them. You know, they come in a box, you know, a book. And then when you want to run the translations, all you would need to do is have the iPad you want to run AI on, hover over the page, take a picture, it would be in the memory, and then load that picture into AI, and it would work off the picture. It's exactly the same as a snapshot to it. Now I want to get down to the bottom line on this thing with the messengers. In verse, okay. Can we dig deeper into the word messengers in verse 31? Period. What is the Hebrew word that is used here? Malachi. No, Malachi, okay. Yeah. It's the same word used for human messengers and heavenly messengers. It says the translators of mainstream Bible default to angels here, but that is an interpretive choice, not a translation. You hearing that? An interpretive choice, not a translation. The Hebrew does not say angels, it says his messengers. This is significant because in the context of verse 31, the gathering of the chosen ones with a shofar blast, this has a very strong parallel to the Jewish gathering language used for the ingathering of Israel. The shofar and the sending of messengers to gather the dispersed is covenantal and national language, not necessarily a supernatural celestial event, though it doesn't understand. In the verse 36, the same root appears again, Malik type word for messenger. The messengers of the heavens. And there context does point more forward, heavenly. Okay, let's go to verse 36. Did I miss this? But concerning that appointed time, that day and that hour, no man knows, nor the messengers in the heavens. I didn't read that. I missed it. I'm sorry. See, this is telling us the appearing in the clouds, we don't know. But concerning that appointed time, that day and that hour, no man knows, nor the messengers in the heavens, but the Father only. Okay, so the messenger in the heavens is the angels. I prayed for this to get answered. It looks like it did. Take for yourself. No, I gotta go higher up. And he shall send his messengers, verse 31, with a loud voice of the shofar with. So at the same time, the shofar from heaven is blowing, and that's time to go on the next great exodus, and the everlasting life happened, and Yeshua appears. So if you're sleeping, you'll hear the shofar, the whole world will. And they shall gather his chosen ones from the four winds. Now that makes it sound like it's angels, but we'll check that out too. From one end of the heavens to the other end. The last 10 or so words in verse 31 of Matthew 24 talk about the four winds and ends of the heaven. Could we dig into these words a little bit deeper? Because they seem to sound like it's a heavenly thing when it's really referring to the people on earth returning to Israel. Jerk thing jumped on me again. Stinking iPads. I got it. What do I? Okay. I gotta go back where I was. This thing is such iPads. Okay. We're gonna set up that is I'm gonna do computers, not this junk. Alright, it's good for broadcasting and things like that, but for serious work, you gotta get the computers, and I would get them with the big screens, like the 30 or 36 inch screens, so you could sit back and read the document. Ruchot is the key root word here, which means wind. Ruach, I'm sorry, Ruach. It didn't spell it right. It's Ruach. It means breath, direction, spirit. Here it means the four directions. Okay, so it's talking about the whole earth. The earth is not a round ball, it's square. How do you have an east, west, north, and south on a round ball? Can you tell me? Here it means, and also it says the earth is immovable, and it's not, that means you can't be spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, right? So, you know. Okay, moving along. Here it means the four directions: north, south, east, and west. Here it means the four directions is a geographic orientation term, not a supernatural one. Okay, good. Mixer from the end, from the extremity, from the furthest points. So this word is, oh no, Hasha. I can't read it. This guy puts it in English. He transliterates it. It gets me confused. Okay, Hashamim. We should put a space between them. It's the heavens. Okay, so the heavens, but in this idiomatic usage, paired with ruach coat, spirits or winds, and kezer, it means the horizon, the place where the earth meets the sky as seen from any direction. So the full phrase means from the four directions, from the farthest horizon to the farthest horizon. See, that's what needs to be put in the translation. From the four directions, from the farthest horizon to the farthest horizon. So they understand it correctly. It's an idiom, and they wouldn't understand the idiom, you know. So they're starting to think that the angels are coming and flying and picking them up and taking them to Israel. First of all, they're going to the wilderness first, then they're going to Israel. That's number one. Number two, we're going on the ships of Tarshish first. Well, that's certainly not an angel picking us up. And in other places, people are carrying them in, and they're walking in, and you know, so it's not angels pick them up and carry them in, because if the angels picked some of them up and carried them in, then it would be like they're creating a race of super Jews that they carried, or favored ones, or God wouldn't do that. This is so this is the ingathering of dispersed Israel. Isaiah 11 verse 12 uses almost identical language, gathering the dispersed of Israel and Judah from the four corners of the earth. There you go, how clear that is. So they translated this, probably the same words there clearly, four corners of the earth. We do the same thing. They might have disguised that, I don't know why, but when it says the four corners of the earth, you tell me if we got a round ball earth spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, like they say, where are the four corners of the earth? Can you help me? In Revelation, it says the angels standing on the four corners of the earth. So how could there be corners on a round ball? What about north? How do you have north? How do you have south or east or west on a round ball? Where does it start? Where does it stop? See? You go to school, you start school, you go to kindergarten. After kindergarten, you're in your first grade. You're sitting in the classroom. The teacher's at the front with a desk. And what does she have on her desk and next to her desk? a globe. See, this is going to hand Satan his own head back on a silver platter. That's how bad this is going to be for Satan. And I love it. This is not a celestial event happening. Okay. So, you see how good this can be? But I'm just getting warmed up with this and learning how to make it work. This task is above and beyond the means of you guys giving offerings to make it happen. The offerings help keep me going, and maybe the offerings could help us buy these manuscripts, and then I could take with one. Let's see. I need. I put the manuscript down like on my knee. I take a picture of it with the iPad. It's in my file. I copy it, put it in the AI program, and it translates it. So we could do stuff like that. I could do the Salkinsons all day long. Okay, the Hebrew New Testament. We could do that all day long. But you see, we've got to clarify things in the translation. But as we train the AI, and this is a good AI, I don't know if I want to publicly state which one it is. If I know you and you want to send me an email, and I know you, I'll tell you which one it is. There is a difference among them. Now, I'm talking about AIs that are, $10, $20, $30 a month or something like that. Now, there's other AIs you could buy that are even $1,000 a month. Some are 500, 300, 200. Now, they could be a lot different. Now, one thing they'll do is they'll go out with many different tentacles of the octopus, let's say, and multitask at the same time, more so than this. So it actually gets more thorough and more fast. Buying the actual language translation books, some are I got in the house, like Scott Liddell. I got some of them here in the house. I don't see how we could make that work. Because I can't upload a book into AI on my, I could just give it a page and it could read a page. I could give it 10 pages, it could read all 10 pages, but I'd have to, I don't know how to do that. Man, there might be more sophisticated ones I could get. See, we need to get our hands on somebody that's an AI expert that would know how to make this work more efficiently. There would be a way to do it. But if we had to stumble through it manually, it would just take probably 8 to 12 people, each with computers and, ability to take scans and snapshots and things like that and put it into AI and go to work on it. So one person could be working on one, let's say you're going to do Jeremiah, one person works on the first 6 chapters, and the other one works on the next 6. And we cut through Jeremiah, but somebody's got to proofread them. And I could do it, and then I'd have to get other people to do it that have good doctrine, so I'd have to, while I go through it, they would have to sit with me, and I would teach them, and then over time they would be able to do it, I think, maybe, or I'd have to do all of it. I don't know, it's such a big job. And I'm just talking about putting it into English. Now, what if we gotta put it, we also need to put it in Hebrew, let's not kid ourselves. Do we need to put it in other languages? Well, if you're gonna go around the world with the gospel, I don't know how you're gonna do it if you don't do it. We're gonna go to Asia and give them an English Hebrew Bible. We could create a lexicon that's like a dictionary of words and a concordance where you find the words. We could put that in the back of the Bible, or maybe more prudently, just write a separate book, but then we got to do that work which is basically a monster compilation job in all the different languages. You see, you could actually use 50 people doing this. Believe me, guys, I'm so far from this financially, I'm not even around. Let me see what this is. Yes. Yeah, English? I mean, English? Yes, yes. Okay. Can you tell me why, and I'll find her? Gova, I don't know that word. What is? Let me see if I can find her. Hold on, hold on. Hang on a minute, guys. Are you here? Copies on the phone for you. Interested? Copies on the phone for you. Interested? She can't talk right now. Hello? Hung up. Okay, don't worry about it. What's going on here? Why are you sitting here? What's the matter? Go see mommy. Go to mommy. Go mommy. You know, do you think Beulah has to go potty? She was sitting by the door. Let her? All right, I'll let her out. Come on, Bewley. Bewley, baby. Go. Okay. What was I think the health plan calls my wife. Come in for treatment. Let's give you injections and take your blood and give you radiation for x-rays and we'll MRI you and do this and do yeah. Finish your life off sitting in the waiting room of doctors. Okay, so it's a pretty interesting thing. So what else could we look at that's going to be pretty good? Let's do, let me cut and paste another one out of here. I have this thing set on very large text so I could read it, so I don't get the whole chapter on the page. But if I shrink the text, then take the snapshot, I will. But I haven't been doing that because it's pretty hard. Okay, for me to read it then. So now we're doing no, I did the wrong did the wrong chapter for some reason. Oh, let me get back in there. Yeah, I came up the wrong one. I hit 6. I want to do John 6. So what did I do wrong? I hit John. Oh, my finger's too big. I'll get it. Okay.
You off?
No. Now we'll get it. Okay, John 6:31. The will of the Father who sent me, that of all that he has given me, I shall not lose even one, but raise them up on the last day. 40. For this is the will of my Father, that everyone who sees the Son and believes in him shall have the life of the age. Well, that's the everlasting life. See, it's correcting. It's saying life of the age now. We're teaching it. The life of the age. You see, we got this age and the age to come with everlasting life. Chaya Olam. And the next age is from the time Yeshua appears, I guess, till we wind up in heaven. I don't know. I guess that's it. The life of the age, and I will raise him up on the last day. See, it says the life of the age, and then the next thing is the last day. But when the last day comes, it's a new era or a new something, because we're up in heaven. There's really, I don't believe there's time in heaven. And the last day, of course, is the day of the rapture. Okay. 41, John 6:41. And the Yehudim murmured, the Yehudim is Yehuda, is Judah, the Judeans or something, murmured against him because he said, I am the bread that came down from the heavens. Like manna, but spiritual, I guess, right? Verse 42, and they said, is this not Yeshua ben Yosef, whose father and mother we know? So they're saying that they know Yeshua's father and mother, yet in the Talmud they call him the bastard. How about that? And how does he say, I have come down from the heavens? Yosef or Joseph. Yosef is Joe or Joseph. And Yeshua answered and said to them, do not let there be murmuring among you. No man is able to come to me unless the Father who sent me draws him, and I will raise him up at the last day. It's very much like the New Testament King James. Is it not written in the prophets, and all your children shall be taught of, that says Yahweh instead of Jehovah. I got to talk about that. And everyone who has heard from the Father and learned from him comes to me. In English is not YHWH. You are correct. The proper translation is YHVH, using the Hebrew Vav, not a W. The W comes from German translation tradition and has no basis in Hebrew. Hebrew has no W sound. The letter is Vav, and the correct translation is V. I will use YHVH going forward. See, I'm teaching this thing. Okay, so I told you that all names in Hebrew mean something. Like Yeshua means giver of salvation, source of salvation, something in that realm. You have no problem with that, I'm sure. Jehovah is his name, and it means something, and Yahweh doesn't mean anything, because it's not a name in Hebrew, it's just nonsense. So what they're doing is they're trying to blot Jehovah's name out by substituting some other thing. That's what they've done with the Jesus thing regarding Yeshua. There's no J in the alphabet of Hebrew. So the Jesus thing can't be his name. Neither could Jehovah be the name of God. Okay? What a nightmare we've got to unravel from this jackass Satan and the demons, huh? They spun this web of evil over many, many centuries, more than a millennium. AI can bust it out in days. Well, the offerings are not going to get this work done in its completion. You do keep me going, and I can keep doing things like this, translating the important scriptures from the Septuagint and from the Hebrew New Testament. Now, I can probably get myself, I know I have a copy of, no, that's the New Testament. I have a copy of Sweet's New Testament, SWETE, in the house, in a book, but I need somebody to sit there and click the pages, and I can help us with this, but we're not going to get to the point of getting a real Bible for the people, Old and New Testament. without knocking off at work, and the Lord's going to have to supply the resources. I don't think any of you could do it. It's, you know, you need people, you got to support them when they're working. And you need computers, you need a workspace. We do have the guest house, which I could probably put even 12 people in to work. And I got air conditioners in all the rooms. No, there's some rooms that don't, but if you keep the doors open, it'll flow in without a problem. So there'll be air conditioning. Oh, it'll be cool in there. There won't be a problem. And there's a kitchen in there. They could bring stuff in the refrigerator, cook. You know, it has a hot plate, a 2-burner hot plate. It has coffee and tea makers. It has a microwave oven. And it has like a toaster oven thing. But, you know, you could heat a pizza up in there. You could heat stuff up in there. I don't really use it for cooking. It's about like that, you know. A good one. And the refrigerator is about this high. You know, it's not a 7-footer or something, but it's pretty big refrigerator. When I grew up in the 50s and 60s, you know, in New York, that was the size refrigerator everybody had. It's one of those. Has a freezer, has a fruit drawer, you know, a real refrigerator. So they could bring sandwiches and, you know, things like that, or we could get deliveries. You can get deliveries here as long as you like pizza, hamburgers, and no, we could get Thai food. We can get Oriental food. Yeah, we can get different stuff. Or somebody can just jump in the car and buy all kinds of things. And Bueller and Mommy would be very helpful during the work. They would come around and make sure you pet them, so that would, in their minds, stir you on. Well, you pet me and, you know, comfort me, then I'm super dog, the best dog in the world, and then you go do your work, you know. Or they'll try to bun pieces of food off people eating lunch, you know. Oh, they're good at that. You know, once they know you belong here, they would be non-aggressive at all. Very friendly. Well, if I introduce you, they're friendly to you right away. You know? And then after they see you come a few times, they really become friendly. So it's got 2 bedrooms. We have to empty the bedrooms out and put them there. The difficulty here is my wife's getting a cryo machine. And, we're thinking about putting it outside. Yeah, we might put it outside on the patio, the roof part of the patio. Oh, they could use the cryo machine too. I don't know, a cryo machine is good for stroke victims. I don't know what it will do for other people. We'll find out. I don't know. People generally use it for injuries. They got them for the arm, here, and maybe the shoulder, and they got them for knee and ankle. Little machines, and then we would get a whole body thing where you walk and stand in it. And she wants to put some of my red light stuff in there too, which is fine with me. I don't care. I don't think they'll get much benefit from 3 minutes of red light up there. I've got machines that can go in there, no problem. We just got to find out if putting the machine in there at that temperature is going to break the LEDs. It might. I don't know what the deal is, but you know, we can find a way to rig it or something. I don't care. But red light, you're usually looking at 12, 15 minutes or something. So. Yeah, I'll keep, doing this. And this one is the best AI I found for it, But you see, I'm dealing with home type AI. If we get into this, I gotta look at AI that is set up on a really big level for like a university research or corporation research, big deal. And these things are going to be 200 to 1,000 a month, I guess, and they could maybe be better. Now, I don't know why it can't access it digitally. Let's find out. Are there any AI apps in existence that could access things digitally, like I wrote like the codex? Yes, there are a few options worth knowing about. There we go. Logos Bible Software has a dedicated iPad app and contains digitized critical texts, including Sinaiticus, the NA28 Greek New Testament, BHS Hebrew Bible, and lexicons including Gesenius and Liddell Scott. It is the most comprehensive tool available, and an AI assistant is now built into it. It is subscription based. Accordance Bible Software, oh, that's the company, also has an iPad app with similar manuscript and lexicon access, and has been integrating AI features. Both of these actually sit on top of the real digitized text rather than memory, which is the fundamental difference from what I am doing. However, there is a problem worth flagging. Both Logos and Accordance are built by and for the church world, and their translation default and commentary layers carry exactly, they're biased. Okay, so their AI would be crap. The most unfiltered direct access to Codex Sinaiticus is still codexsinaiticus.org. That is the British Library project, and gives you the actual manuscript page images with a transcription layer alongside no interpretive overlay. For what we are doing together, you supplying the Salkinson images and the working from the actual text in front of me is actually producing cleaner results than any of those apps would, because the bias filter is you, not an institution. Regarding Logos, in there is the actual one, and I would be able to snapshot it and feed it into you for translation. Is this true or not true? Something went crazy here. I don't know what happened. Let me make sure. Okay, I got the answer then. Yes, that is true with one qualification. Logos displays the actual Sinaiticus transcription text, the Greek characters directly from the manuscript tradition. If you snapshot that Greek text clearly enough that the characters are legible and feed it to me, I can read the Greek directly from the image and translate it word by word from what is actually on the screen rather than from memory. That is exactly the same workflow we just established with the Salkinson. The qualification is this logos display is the transcription text, meaning someone has already converted the manuscript handwriting into typed Greek characters. That transcription layer is extremely well established and reliable for Sinaiticus, specifically because it was done by the British Library Project. So you are not quite at the raw manuscript image level, but you are at the next best thing, the direct transcription without interpretive translation layered on top. So the work would be, okay, so we could do it both ways with this logos thing. You could get the actual Greek letters, or you can get what the historical the Historical Museum Society of Great Britain did, which could have a bias. The way we would check it is use some of the original Greek words and compare it with their interpretation and catch them. So we'd have to see which way to go. Let's get in it. How much does it cost to get this logos work? You said it's by subscription. It's getting the pricing. Its premium subscription is $10 a month. The Pro is $15, and the Max is $20. There is also a basic entry level called Logos Plus at $5. For your purposes, accessing Sinaiticus and original language tools, it's saying the $15 Pro version. One important note, if you subscribe for 24 consecutive months and then cancel, you receive a legacy fallback license that lets you keep offline features permanently. So it is not purely a rent forever situation, I see. The free app is available to download and test before. Okay, now let's see about that other service. You mentioned another service other than logos. Can you tell me if that would suit my purposes better? You might say we're making history here. Let's see. It's checking the other one's features. The other one's called Accordance. It has the New Testament portions of Codex Sinaiticus available. The earliest complete New Testament manuscript from the 4th century. I'm liking this one already. Morphological tagged. Importantly, Accordance sells this as a separate add-on purchase rather than a bundle into a subscription tier. So you could potentially buy just what you need. Their advanced add-on bundle also includes tagged Greek New Testament manuscripts that the Leningrad Codex Septuagint, Peshitta, and other critical texts. I'm not that impressed with those things, to be honest with you. The key difference from Logos is that Accordance originated on Mac and iPad and has always been faster and cleaner on Apple devices. I think we would probably maybe buy Apple computers if this is the case. However, and this is important for your situation, the free option may actually serve you first. The British Library Sinaiticus project gives you direct access to the actual manuscript with transcription. Okay, so I need the logos then. Okay. So the problem here is if you got 12 people working on it and it's $15 a month, it's times 12. Unless it's allowed to be shared, which I doubt. Logos is churchianity, but you know, we're not going after their commentaries or what they have to say, because what they have to say is going to be pure trash. So what we're going after is the actual raw text, which is, you know, pretty good. We don't have to worry about that. Hang on a minute, I got something here we need to deal with. Okay, someone asked for whole enchilada and endless tossed salad for JK and JK, two JKs. So we're asking for endless salad and whole enchilada for JK and JK. Okay, got that. Hang on a second. Wait a second here. Okay. So the good news is I'll buy logos today. And that ought to be fun. I'm working with this. This is my tool. The one that I'm broadcasting on, I reserve for the broadcast. So I don't do anything with it. I just turn it on, do the broadcast, turn it off, charge it for a couple hours, and let it go to sleep till the next broadcast. That's a newer one, but it's not that great, you know. I'd probably want to get one with 2 terabits of memory, which would be twice as thick as this. I'm not doing that. For this work, you need a computer, and I can't use computers too well because the keypad keeps me this far away from the screen, and I can't. It's hard for me to read the screen unless I sit there and then I just lean over on front of the screen. My vision is shot. So the Lord's probably going to have to raise me up physically for me to do this. So let's jump into the live stream, see what's going on. I hope you're enjoying this. What is it saying? Someone is saying on my Tanta, don't sign up for anything, and no, Microsoft isn't freezing your computer. I never said Microsoft was freezing it. Things get lost on the iPad because over time this one's got oversensitive. It's about 4 years old. That's what's happening, and I can't really figure out how to take care of it. The other one says, please educate yourself. Well, I don't know what you're talking about, but oh, you don't want me to educate the people. Oh, that sounds pretty suspicious. I don't know what you mean. Remember, Yeshua said, greater signs than these you shall do, speaking to you all. Blessed are the feet of those that bear the good news. You know. Okay. I guess that's about it for today. So I'll get a prayer out for us. And okay, my Heavenly Father, Jehovah, I pray for me and my wife and all the true believers in our households, that we would have your strength, stamina, and endurance from you. Your healing and recuperative power would flow through us and heal us as needed. And we would, for us and our animals and pets, we'd be happy, healthy, and whole, and safe and secure. And I pray for the peace of Jerusalem. I pray for those of us that need a job, we find a good job. For those of us that need clients and customers, we find those. I pray we all have adequate money and then some excess over. Okay? I pray that I could do better videos. I pray for your help in pushing this translation forward and getting it going. And I pray you provide the resources and the funds for it. I don't see anywhere in the world I could possibly do this by myself. I have no way. I can't even fathom it. I have no idea that I could do this by myself. No way. So I would ask you to make the appropriate changes and supply what needs to be supplied, or do what needs to be done so it can get made. And I pray all this to you, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And if you're a true believer, I think it would be a good idea you agree with this. And two or more of you agree on earth, it shall be done of my Father in heaven. So agree with it, even if it's a video. God's big enough to work through that. Now we'll switch to spiritual warfare. So it'll be a little different now. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, for me and my wife, all the true believers and their families and households, we cancel any and all witchcraft or sorcery targeted or directed at any of these people, directly or designed to affect them indirectly through others or other things. It's all cast null and void, of no value, no effect forever, and shall never return. They can never, the unclean spirits can never put this witchcraft back, as well as any previous witchcraft done towards these people in the last 25 years. It cannot be returned back anymore, or redone anymore, ever. And if there's anybody that has an unclean spirit, I command it to loose or go out of the person immediately, never to return to them. And I submit all this to you, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. So if anybody wants to send in, and you can agree with that, please agree with her if you're a believer. If anybody wants to send in, please do this verse translated. I always wanted to know more about this verse or verses. I'll try to do it, My email address is in the last line down of the description box. It's israelgiving with the number 7 at gmail.com. Okay? And israelgiving with the digit 7 at gmail.com. And I'll try to accommodate you. Okay? Got to pray a lot for this to go forward. I think this is going to be a big thing. And don't get all hung up on what Satan and the demons can do. They're a bunch of jackasses. They're afraid of us. They're under our feet. Let's just see how we're going to put this together. This is a big undertaking, and it looks like the war from Iran's going to light up. Trump is playing games, trying to keep oil prices down or whatever he's trying to do, afraid of Congress to start another war again. But when Iran just attacked American bases, it's declaring war on America. And he's not doing anything. So there's some deep-seated fear here, okay? Maybe he knows that when the war starts, certain people, I don't know, we know who they would be, would stop the demons from being involved with him and helping or assisting him, huh? Because they've already had a taste of that. So we'll see. We'll see. But their time is up. It's over for them. Okay. And the ones that have been harassing you and bothering you all these years are not much longer to walk on the face of the earth. The Lord will cut them off. The tears go. I'm out. Thanks.